Hi everyone. In today's video, we're going to go over how to create your own app marketplace utilizing a combination of your Gavel account, your Airtable account, and your Softr account. So it's going to have this similar type of interface of the Gavel marketplace where we have a lot of different legal applications here from different providers. In your case, you're going to have them all be your own applications, but you can see the visual that we're going for, which is going to be a searchable interface that has different tags associated with different apps that allows you to make it to where you can separate your one-to-one client services and consultation from a la carte applications that people can purchase separately from your services. We're seeing this also in things like Contract High, where you have this difference between an a la carte sort of buy each particular workflow one by one at a particular price if you only need that one thing, or this sort of membership type of option where for a monthly or yearly fee, you get access to all of the different contracts that are available, or the different apps or workflows, as you could say. So for example, if you go to this Contract High one, which is a coaching agreement, then you can either proceed to the a la carte sort of menu where you're taken to a paywall where you pay for that particular workflow, or you can get your membership and have all of these particular ones accessible to you. So we're going to create this kind of flow of an interface where you can have this for your own website. In my case, I use this type of interface a lot, including in my Cormeum retreats, where I have this sort of hour list where this is accessible only to people who have been guests of the retreat before. And you can see the different recommendations for different products, books, workout programs, and etc. from people who have gone to the retreats. So this was built with a combination of Airtable and Softr. So we're just going to transform this a tiny bit to make it to where this interface is used for sort of an app store or marketplace. So the first thing we're going to want to do is set up our Airtable table that is going to serve as the data source for our sort of searchable list, you could say. And what we'll be doing is making it to where when someone clicks on it, it either takes them directly to one of your apps, or it takes them to a description page where they can choose to purchase it or not. And this would be like a buy now button. Or if it's free, it can be sort of a free get access now or whatever else. So let's go ahead and go over to our Airtable accounts, and we're going to start from scratch. So go ahead and click on this button that says start from scratch. Then say continue. If we wanted to, let's go ahead and name our project. So let's make our project name App Marketplace. And then we can pick a color. I'm going to go with this nice kind of pinkish one, or maybe this one looks nice. Continue. Now we'll add some information. So what are we tracking? We can add our own, and we can say this will be app. We can say apps, that's fine. And then this can include different rows. So now we're starting to think about the design and overall kind of strategy for this particular table. So you always need the name, or this kind of first column doesn't have to be a name, but have that be sort of a unique thing. So this one is going to be the different names of the apps. So I'm going to go over here to my sort of demo account with the different apps that I want to use. So I'm going to call the first one here this eligibility for a specially adapted housing grant. So this is a particular app that we've built. So I'm just going to give that as this sort of first row's name here. We could do another one if I wanted to, if I come here to my interactive resume, for example, and we can always change these later. And then we can give the third one of this law firm pro bono limited scope engagement agreement. So let's give it a few of these different names and rows. Then if we want to keep going, for each row in the app, we can also track other things as well. Firstly, we would want to have the link. So we can say here, add your own, and we can make this a URL. So let's move this over a little bit, find the URL. Then we're going to come over to our dashboard and get the links for each of these. So let's grab this link. Or this is just going to be the name, actually. So let's say link to app. And then we're going to say continue. And then if you wanted to have any automations, for example, you could say something like, when something happens, then I want you to send a Slack message or whatever else. We're not going to do that for now. So we're going to say create your own workflow later. and then say continue. If we want to, we can also see this in different views. So we can see the same information in different ways. So right now we're seeing this sort of as a grid. So we have just sort of a table, but you could also see this if you had dates, for example, attached to each one. You could have a calendar, you can have a Kanban where something is by their, let's say, the status. So if it's in progress or done or to do. You can also see this as a gallery. So it kind of comes and looks at kind of like a grid of different cards. So I think that's a good view. We can add that one if we'd like to. It looks like this. And then we can say continue. So now we can see this sort of, since this is the first one we're creating under this particular account, we can see experience all of Airtable with a 14-day trial of Pro. So it's already going to be upgraded for you, but you didn't have to add any kind of credit card information. And after the 14 days, it will automatically bump you down to the free plan. But if you use any of the kind of paid features, you're going to just want to be aware of that so it doesn't break your workflows after you get kind of downgraded if you don't want to upgrade later. So you can see all of these different options here. In our case, we're just going to focus on creating and building out our particular table here. You have this kind of onboarding wizard that pops up. So it's kind of helping you walk through how you can build your base. So you can sort of set up these different columns to be as you'd like, fill in the rows, filter, group, and sort, see things in another view, bring your team along, automate repetitive tasks, and so on. But you can just kind of get rid of this if you want to. In our case, let's quickly update these 3 links to the correct ones. So I'm just going to grab the link for each of these particular ones. So let's come over here to our dashboard. I'm going to copy the workflow link for this one here, which is the eligibility one. We're going to grab the link for the resume and drop that in here as well. And then we're going to add the link for the law firm pro bono limited scope engagement agreement. And then we can say here, we can edit this field to change the name to, you could say name of apps or app or whatever else, save. So we have the name of the app, the link to the app, and then we're going to need to create a couple of other columns as well. If we think about how we might want this to be laid out, for example, and what we might want to include in our table for our sort of layout like this, we can see that we might want to add the price. So we can have this column here, edit this to price of app, and then we can make this a currency if we wanted to. So we can say currency, and then that can be, you can have it to where it's like this or kind of these different styles. You can also allow for negative numbers. You can also change there to be a default number. So if you want it to be 0 or whatever else. You can also change the currency symbol from a $sign to, let's say, a pound for British pounds, for example, or anything else. So let's go ahead and keep it for now at the American dollars and say save. So you can say confirm change. Now, when we go in here to put in a price, if we said 0 or if we said 100 or whatever, it's going to automatically change to that currency and in that kind of currency format. So I'm going to set all these to 0 because all of them are going to be free in our case. Let's see what else we would want to add, kind of going off of this sort of Gavel marketplace to get an idea of what might be included in this style of marketplace. So we have this sort of name. We have maybe a picture, but that could be like a logo, for example. So if we wanted to, we could do that. But if we look at how it's going to come out on our Softr sites, we might do this a little bit differently. And there's different list layouts in Softr as well. In this case, we don't have that same type of thing. So in our case, we would still want some type of image, perhaps of the application itself. So we can do that here. Let's go ahead and find, let's say, attachment, because it would be like a file such as a JPEG or a PNG or something like that. So let's say image of app, create. So now what we can do is we could drag and drop a file, for example. So let's just show you what that might look like. So you can just drop it here and it would be added to this, like this, that you could then interact with and see, for example. So if we wanted to delete this, we can do that here. If we wanted to rename this attachment or download it, we could do so like this. And you can have more than one in a column. You can also click and click on this plus button, and that will give you the option to select files in different ways from your device, from a link, from a web search. You can take a photo from Google Drive, from Dropbox, Facebook, and then you have Box, OneDrive, and OneDrive Business. So there's lots of different options for adding different types of files here as well. If we look at both of these different types of styles of the Gavel Marketplace, for example, and the Our List one here, which is in Softr, or created using Softr, is that we have this idea of topic tags. So here you can see you can filter by these different topics. So I think that's going to be a useful column to have in our marketplace as well. So let's go ahead and create that. So that's going to be something where you wanted to have a multiple select. So it would be better than a single select because one app might be able to span a couple of different types of topics. So let's say multiple select, and then we're going to say, we could say tags or topics or areas or something like that. I'm going to just say tags, and you can make this colored or not, and you can add different options. So let's go ahead and create this. You can also just click on it to create a tag and just start typing and create one like this. So that would be good. So for example, if you wanted to tag one for free apps, or you can say if it's in a particular area of law or some typical kind of broader umbrella term for an area, such as veteran rights or housing, or however specific or broad you want it to be. So in each case, for example, if we had multiple that go under free, then we can just choose after we've created it once. There's also a way to do sort of like a bulk change as well. I think it's an extension, but they might have changed it or updated it now to be sort of an inbuilt feature. But for now, we're just going to go like this and kind of tidy this up a little bit. So now you can see I can have multiple different tags for a single app. So for now, we're just going to tag it as free because these are kind of price zero, and somebody would be able to filter by that particular tag. So let's go on to see what else we might want. So we might want to see who it's by. That's going to be a little bit more complicated because I want to use a linked database right now. So we can do it in a couple of different ways, but for now, let's just go on to a different section. So you can see that we have this sort of initial impression of whatever we're interacting with. So we have this sort of kind of teaser of what's behind the scenes. So we have an image, we have the title, we're going to add that next. Maybe down here we'd have topics and maybe a price. And then when somebody clicks into it, and in this case, you have like a short description of the person who created it. So you could have that as well if you wanted. But we see that there is something on the other side of this, which is a description. Maybe we would have a video overview if we wanted to have one as well. It just depends on how you'd like to do it. We have a link here of some kind. So it doesn't have to obviously track exactly with this. We're just trying to get an example or an idea of what's on the other side of this in a typical marketplace. So we have sort of a button that allows somebody to purchase this now, jurisdictions, what it's for, languages. So that gives you some ideas for different tags that you can use. Maybe you would add jurisdiction for yours, for example, in here, maybe if it's just for the US or if it's international, whatever else. So let's go further into this. So it looks like we have like a title, for example, on this next page, which could just be the title of your app, but it could be a different type of header. And then you have sort of a description and then some images and then something about the person who created it that can toggle through if you need to, with a little bit of a description of who they are and what they're up to. So that gives us an idea. Also some contact information that looks pretty good as well, and who created it. So this is just giving us some ideas of how we might structure our table to make sure we have all the different sections that we need in order to link that through Softr later. In our case, we're just going to have it be that we have the same title, so we can kind of reuse this column here. Then we would want to have something like the picture, which we already have a section for here. Then we would want to have, let's add a description. So let's add a section for a description of the app. So if in the name of the app, we have sort of this single line text. So that's something that's just going to be quite short, like this, like a title. And then we have long text, which you can also have be in rich text. So let's go ahead and say long text, and then we're going to say enable rich text formatting. So this includes things like checklists, hyperlinks, headers, code blocks, and more. If we go into this a little bit deeper, it's going to show you how you can do this using Airtable and this particular field, which is actually quite powerful. So I'll show you a little bit of that more. But that kind of article here will tell you a little bit more about how to utilize this a little bit to its fullest potential. So let's give this field a name. Let's call it this app description and create this field. And then that way we have the ability to kind of give a little bit of our description of what we might want to say about this particular app. Now let's see if there's anything else we might want to add. We already have sort of like a buy now button that we could link to some sort of checkout page, for example, or if it's free, it could go straight to the app. We might want to say created date or posted date or whatever else if we wanted to add a date to this. So I think we should. So let's go ahead and put date. And then we'll put maybe posted date rather than a created date. You can change the way that this looks. So if you wanted it to be like this or like this, you can do so. I'm going to have it be this kind of friendly. It's easier to read. You can include the time. You can display the time zone as well if you want to. I'm going to say posted date, and let's go ahead and create this field. So now it would be more useful if you had a calendar, because before we didn't have any dates attached to it, so nothing would really show up on our calendar. But now we do. So we can kind of move this over here if we want to, and you can kind of move things around as you'd like. And then let's go into what else we would want to add here. So we have this description, we have a date. So let's see if there's anything else besides before we kind of get into what we might do for contributors, because you might have it to where there's more than one person on your team that creates apps. In that case, because your team might expand as you grow. So let's say you're starting by yourself and it's just you creating applications. That's awesome. That's how I do it as well. But maybe because you're doing well with your apps, and not all of your apps need to be free, but just in this particular example, is that your team will grow and maybe you'll make it to where this marketplace has other people's apps, or because maybe one of the draws is that you have this sort of, you're the one that's creating the app or the list that makes it to where other people can access each other's apps, and that's your business. But it's in the case that you're just creating it for yourself, you still might have other members of your team that also contribute. So you might want to have more than one contributor show up. You might want to have it to where you have just you as a contributor, but in either case, you'd want to have something where you could have multiple people in this column, and you'd also be able to kind of have a separate list of contributors, I think, in my opinion. So I'm going to make it to where we have a separate database that is for, that you create, that's just for contributors or creators. So we're going to add a table, and we're going to say create blank table. And then we're going to call this, you could say creators or app creators if you like, save. And then this one is going to see, as you can see, this comes default. Anytime you create a new table from scratch, it's going to give you name, notes, assignee, and status, because these are very typical, but you don't have to use these if you don't want to. My personal style is generally to have the first column here, when I'm talking about people, be a formula that's a combination of someone's first name and their last name to create their full name. So we can do this, but let's first create first name and last name as columns. So let's call this one first name. And then you can even put like creator first name, so you can be more specific for when you're looking at this in other places. Creator first name, and let's just make this a single line text and save this. So creator's first name, and then we can edit this one to be creator last name. And then we're going to choose single line text here. Now that we have these two columns set up, we have creator first name and the creator's last name. You could even have middle name if you wanted to. In this case, I'm just going to keep it first name and last name. And then we have here, we're going to edit this field to make this a table, or sorry, a formula that is full name. And we're going to find formula. So that looks like this. And we're going to use something called concatenate. So that makes it to where it's going to combine first name. So we can look for this just by, it's going to search it for us when we start typing in. So we're going to say creator first name, and then we can put a comma, And then we can put so quotes. So you even just have to put one and it will do two for you. And then you can add a little bit of a space. And then in the next one, you can say last name. So create our last name. And we're going to close this off with the parentheses and we're going to say save. So now when somebody types in their first name, it's going to automatically show up over here. When somebody types in their last name, it's going to automatically show up here with a space in between them. So that's how you can use a formula or just one very basic formula in this particular setting of Airtable. So in this case, we can have Brittany Hernandez be a creator. And then you can also have, for example, another person like Demi Demo or whatever else. And then if we don't want to have this third one, we can go ahead and we can just delete this one as well, or add a new contributor if you have more. In my case, I'm going to right click and say delete record. Great. So now we have two contributors, but we might want to add more information about them. Maybe like an about me kind of section, like we can see here on the our list section. We have the contributor and then we have their name and then we have an about section. So let's go ahead and put that one in as well. So let's edit this field to say about creator. And then we're going to turn this into a sort of long text that we can have enabled rich text formatting and save this now. So we have the person's full name, their first, their last, and then the about, and then we can also have maybe a link to their profile. So creator profile link. So this could be like a LinkedIn or a personal website or business website. So we're going to find URL and create that field as well. In our case, we're also going to want comments. So maybe we can get some feedback or people can write reviews about our apps if we want to. So we're going to have an additional section that is called comments. So let's add a table, create a blank one, and call this comments. And then we can save this. So in Softr, you are able to set it up to receive comments that people can edit and that can, I think, be deleted as well, but they have to be deleted in Airtable. But either way, comments are amazing because it allows your end users or people who are looking at this particular app and maybe have a question or something that they can comment on the actual page as well. So if you do want to do this, we're going to create a comment table that can receive comments that get put in your Softr account or on your website. So if we come down to this article, you can see that you need to create a table and that can store the comments for you. So it has the following few fields: commenter ID, record, comment field, and then a created date. So let's go ahead and create that over here. So if we go over to this section, we can say, so we're going to have, so as you can see, it's going to have like a couple of different sections and they're going to receive certain information. So this is going to be the ID of the commenter. So you can say edit field, commenter ID, single line text, save. Then we're going to have the current record, so a text field of storing the record ID of the Airtable record displayed in the list details block. So the identification of the record that contains the current task data. So in this case, they called it record ID. That's fine. So let's just call this edit field, call this record ID, and let's turn this into a single line text, save. The next one is going to be the comment field. So this is going to be what's going to be the actual body of a text of the comment itself. So you can say comment text. So let's go ahead and turn this one into comment text. And let's turn this into, you can make this long text and rich formatting if you wanted to, and save. And then the final one is going to be the created date, a date for storing the date and time of the comment submission. Now, in this particular image, it shows created date as a date, but if you actually try that, it doesn't work because it needs to be something that the system can input the text to this place. So it's not actually going to be useful to put date. And also don't be fooled because there's actually a section called created time or created date. So you don't want to use that. You actually just want to use a single line text and call this one created date. or comment date or something like that. Save. So now we have our sections and we can kind of get rid of these empty ones here. So we have commenter ID, record ID, comment text, and created date. And we won't actually do anything with these right now because this is going to be input by the people who are creating them. So this will just receive comments to store them for you. So if we go back to our app creators, I was just going to add a section for an image. So if we wanted to add a picture of the creator, and then we can say picture, create. So now we have on a section for the people who are contributing to this or creating this, that they would have their full name available. They would have a little bit of an about me, their link to their profile, and then their picture. I think that's pretty good for now. We have a section where we can receive comments, and then we have a section for our apps, which we can also add on to later if we wanted to add anything else. But for now, we have an app description, we have tags, we have an image section for the app, we have the price of the app, we have the link to the app, and we have the posted date. So you can see that this, when you have a date, pops up as this kind of very familiar way of choosing a date as well within Airtable itself. So this is what we're going to use as our data source for creating a list like this, where we have an interface that allows us to interact with these different options and information. We can type something and search for something and you'll be able to identify in Softr what people can search for and what types of things that they can search by. Then you also have the topics that people can just click on to kind of filter through. And then you can see this sort of image section, like a little card. And there's different layouts. You can have, for example, the topics show up at the top. You can have no section bar or just the search bar or whatever else. So this is just an example of what this might look like. So let's go ahead and start making this in Softr now that we have our app marketplace sort of tables sort of set up. So firstly, we can make sure we can do one of two things. We can make sure that all of this is filled in first, and then go into Softr and create it, or we can kind of do both in tandem and kind of build it up from there. I think in our case, let's go ahead and just kind of finish this. So I'm going to just put post date. Let's put today, for example. And then that way we can, when we start messing with this in Softr, it looks a little bit better and we can kind of play with it. So if we go ahead and just take a couple of screenshots, for example, maybe we do one like, maybe I just have one like this, where I've taken a screenshot. That's not the most flattering. Let's do a slightly different one where let's go ahead and take this image that will associate with that particular app. Then we can take another one for this eligibility one and grab this a little bit. Screenshot here. And it doesn't have to be like this. You can do your own, kind of have your own style for what you want it to look like, but just to kind of get things going, and you can always update it later, is fine. So then we can kind of take a screenshot of this one here, like this. And then we're going to go ahead and just rename these and attach them to our tables. So I'm going to call this one Interactive Resume. And I'm going to call this one eligibility workflow, like let's say, or like veterans eligibility app. And then you can have the last one, which is engagement agreement. Okay, so let's go ahead and drop these into our different apps in the appropriate spaces. So sometimes with screenshots, they're not technically like a PNG or anything like that. So you might have to convert it to like a JPEG, but let's just see. So let's put this interactive resume one here and see if that's fine. So it looks like it came out fine. And I'm just curious. Yeah, so it converts it for you to a PNG. That's pretty cool. Okay, so then for our Veterans Eligibility app, let's drop that one in here. And then for our engagement agreement one, we're going to drop it here at the bottom like this. So now we have just an image. It can be just something simple. It doesn't have to be anything complicated or anything like that. And then we're going to put in a little bit of an app description. And like I said, this is just to help us kind of make it to where when we're building it, we can visually see what it might look like. So for our app description, we can kind of expand this a little bit as we work on it. And we can say this is for the eligibility for a particular type of grant. I said you can just kind of copy and paste your descriptions anyway. So I'm just going to put here, for example, this app is designed to help you understand whether you may be eligible to apply for a specially adapted housing grant from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If you qualify for an SAH grant, you can get up to this much money. This is the current total. Please note that only veterans and service members of the U.S. military may be eligible. And maybe you would want to add this disclaimer as well, where you'd just say this app was created. And you can note that it kept the formatting that you had before. So you can see that it kept the bolding and it kept the links for you, which is pretty nice. And then I'm just creating a disclaimer just saying that it's not maintained and when it was created. Okay, so then let's go on to the interactive resume. So I can just say, this is just this app gives you an overview of demos, education, experience, and what else here? Certifications. And then you can put anything else you want. Let's just keep it simple for now. For the law firm pro bono limited scope engagement agreement, you can give this a slight description or a small description as well. So we can say something like, this app allows a lawyer to create a limited scope engagement agreement with a client where the lawyer fills out the first few sections. That you can say then the progress. Let's say then the lawyer uses the email progress link feature to email the proposed agreement to the client or potential client, who then and see a preview of the agreement and respond with whether they agree to the terms or not. And sign if they do. And sign, let's say, directly within the workflow if they do. Something like that. Just something that will give this sense of what this is doing. Let's see if we wanted to add anything else for our app creators. So we can have it to where, so what we'll do here after we're done filling this out is create a section under apps that's a linked database column. So let's first do this section here. So I'm actually just going to pull some information from, where can we do this? Let me just see. let's go into here and maybe I can grab some stuff from, I guess I could do this from my LinkedIn, for example, as well. So if we come down to my LinkedIn, I can just grab, I could grab my sort of explanation of myself here, or from here. I'm just going to grab it here. So you would have just some sort of about this particular creator. If we wanted to have the one for Demi demo, for example, we could even just say to something simple for now, just to kind of get it going. So in this section, I'm just going to say, we'll have their LinkedIn kind of separately. So I'm just say, you could have Demi is a, or you can say I am a law student focusing on the intersection of legal technology and access to justice. And then we can put the link. So I'm just going to grab actually my profile link here for LinkedIn, and let's put that one. I'm going to put it here for both just because there isn't a fake account for Demi demo here. And then we can have the picture. So we can use this one here, or I can just use something that I can upload from my computer. So in both cases, or in either case here, I'm just going to use, let's maybe use this one for the Brittany one. And then I'm going to use this other one for the Demi demo one. Just kind of select from the choices here and upload. So that's kind of how that works. So you might want to just have these filled out, and you can always kind of like change these and kind of format them as you would like. It's completely up to you. So, and you can also see how the spacing kind of works out on the other side. So obviously I would need to update this to kind of change out Documeter to Gavel. So let me just kind of read through this really quick and do a few quick updates. Okay, so now that I've updated my About Me a little bit, we're going to add this section under apps for the creator. So we're going to do this linked database. So you can say link to another record. And let's just see, make sure I'm using that right one. Yeah, link to another record. And then you're going to say app creators. And then you can say, you can limit the record selection to a particular view. You can allow linking to multiple records if there's more than one creator for a particular app that you want to reference. And then in the field name, it's going to, I think it does it automatically. App creators, yeah, here. And then you can add specific lookup fields. So if you wanted to have just full name, about the creator profile link and the creator picture, you can say add 4 fields. So now you have it to where it can go like this. And that's pretty handy when you're actually linking it to Softr, because you don't have to kind of go to the app creators one. You can just use the apps one and it will kind of pull this information for you. So for example, if I say for this app creators, I choose Brittany Hernandez, then it's going to automatically fill out this information for me. And if I put both me and Demi demo, for example, then it's going to do it like this for you. So it just depends on how you want it to look. In my case, I'm just going to choose to have Brittany Hernandez as the person who built this, because I actually did. But that's fair enough. But you would have Demi demo or your name there, obviously, as well. So we're actually kind of in a really good shape now to make this to where we're actually going to create our Softr base now. So let's go ahead and go over to our Softr accounts and start building this out. So if we go to our Softr Studios and we go to the particular apps or websites that we're working on, we can kind of get started on this section. So the first thing you need to do is create a page for this. So we're going to go to pages, and then we're going to say add new page. And then we're going to call this one app list or app marketplace or apps, or however you want to say, like app marketplace would be fine. And then save. So now you can see that's automatically given you a header and a footer. So you want to say add block. That's going to give you the opportunity to choose between a dynamic or a static block. If we go to dynamic, then you can have some favorites up here. So we have list with vertical cards, which is what's used in the our list format here. If we go back to the list. So that's what that one looks like on the other side. You can have the list with horizontal cards. It just depends on how you want it to look. So you can choose from here, or you can come to list and see all of your different options. So you have this type of one where it kind of looks more like a kind of cross horizontal card here, and then like an upvote button similar to how you would see it in sort of like a wish list format. Then you can have the deletable elements and vertical cards like this, or you can see that you have all categories on the top as well as some categories on the side. Then you have these like smaller cards. You can have a list with a timeline, list with horizontal cards, column sliding cards. You can have these different choices. So we're going to just see which one we like. There's also this one here. I think we'll go with list, vertical cards, and tag. So that has the tag over them. I think that might be good because then you can indicate if it's free or not. I think that's pretty good. So now we need to, now that we've chosen this particular one, and we can change the name of this if we want to. We're going to say, I think app list is good. And you can just do like app list. And then we can need to connect our data source. So let's go ahead and do that now. Say connect data source, and we're going to use Airtable. So now we need to have our Airtable API key generated. So actually Airtable is going to change over to only doing personal access tokens, but we'll be able to create that now and add that here. Anyway, so let's go over to App Marketplace, or sorry, our App Marketplace table. And we need to go into our account, and then we're going to go into this section that says API. And it talks here about that kind of API keys will kind of change by the end of January 2024, after which they'll stop working. Oh, sorry, let me go back. So everyone will need to start using these personal access tokens instead of API keys. So if we go to the developer hub, then we can say create token. And then we say create token. And then we can give it a name. We're going to call this Softr. And then we can give it a scope. So we can say data records, see the data in records, create, edit, and delete records, see comments in records, create, edit, and delete record comments. So you can see like the sort of base schemes, the advanced developer features, and so on. Let's actually call this one Softr All Access. And then in future ones, if you wanted to create a different token for other ones that maybe you're using it for some limited purpose, then you would have very specific restrictions of the scope of the particular token. So in our case, we want this one to be all access where everything can be done. So we're just going to add all of these different ones here so that this particular token can do everything. So we have our scope, it has everything. We've chosen all the different options, and then the access for which base. So we can say all workspaces. So we can say all current and future bases and all current and future workspaces, or you can limit this to a particular base or workspace. So I'm going to say all, since this is our all access token, and we're going to say create. Since this is kind of going to be a recorded video, I'm not going to show you mine right now, but what you would do is we're going to create the token, and then I'll show you where to put it. Once you've created your token, you'll be able to see this Softr All Access, and you'll be able to kind of see what it can access and what the scope is and when it was created. So you're going to go ahead and copy the token that you created, and we're going to come over to our Softr Studios, and we're going to drop it in here, and then we're going to say connect to Airtable. Once you've done that, you'll be able to see this kind of section here where it says the source, and you can see your Airtable source here. And then we can choose a base, which is our app marketplace. We can choose a table within that base, which is going to be, for example, apps. So now for this particular section, we can see the default view. We can say, let's say grid view, for example. And just since it kind of showed us here, we can just show you how to toggle between these two particular views, which in a way kind of by itself looks like a kind of marketplace in a way. Okay, cool. So let's go back to our Softr site here, and we're gonna choose our list settings. So obviously you would want to pretty this up a little bit on this page, but maybe like adding something above here or below it. But for now, we're just gonna get the basics where they need to be. So when we go to our list settings, we can say sort by, and then you can say whatever you would want for it to be. I'm going to use the name of the app from A to Z. So it'd be alphabetically from A to Z. Then you can choose how many items per page. So that's how many appear here. I think 6 is fine. And then you can do items per row, 3, 4, for example. And then what the empty state is if somebody is searching for something and there's nothing within that category, what would it say? What's the message? No results found. Please, you can say like, please try adjusting your search and filters, or you can just leave it as it is. The default's fine. I'm going to just say please. And then you can say for conditional filters, you can add conditions. So you can say show list items that match all of the following conditions, or any, or whatever else. So I think we're just going to leave that one as that is. Then we're going to go to content. As I mentioned, for this list on this page, it looks a little bit awkward because it's sort of just living by itself, but you can just toggle on this section here that says title and subtitle. That way it will give you a little heading and a subtitle here if you'd like. And then if you wanted to add an image or something underneath that, you could do that as well. But it saves you from having to add a separate like text block here for just a title and a subtitle. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle this on, and you can see that you can have it appear over here, or in the middle. I like the middle, for example. And I'm just going to put sort of, you can just keep it simple, like app marketplace, or welcome to the app marketplace, whatever else. And then you can say something like browse the apps we have available and comment on the ones you love, whatever else. Keep it simple. And for the inline filters, we can say, so you have the sort of, there's 2 categories here. You can have, as you can see, this section here and then this section here. So you can break them up by different types of categories. So we can give this a different label if we wanted to say by sort of like by price, and then by jurisdiction, or by topic, for example. So I'm going to say you can have this be like by price. And then you can say like by price range, really. And then this is going to be filtered by this sort of price of app. Actually, let's do this, sorry, by, it's going to be really more by the tags. And then that would be free. It's up to you how you want to do this, because maybe we would do in our table, because if we show tags, it will show sort of all of them, but you can kind of cut down which ones get shown here. You could have tags by like kind of price tags, and then you could have by topic tags, which might be more clean from this perspective. Or you don't need to have, sorry, let me get back here. Or you don't really need to have both necessarily. You could delete one of these so you don't have 2, but it's really up to you how you want to structure this. I think in my case, I'm going to keep it as tags, and I'm just going to have this one as free, and then I can add other options maybe in the future. We'll just see. We can always change it in the future if we want to, but just to get this kind of rolling, I'm going to have it by price here, and then tags, and then right now we have free. And then position can be here, and then maybe for this other one, I'll put it up at the top. We can have the colors be by as defined in the data source, or you can choose a color like this where it's going to auto-generate a color for you, or you can just say single. It's up to you. Right now, if we do it this way, it's going to match the color that's here. So if you already made it for a reason, a particular color, you can do it that way. I think in our case, I like the single. That looks a little bit better. You can show as tags, or you can show as a drop down, which is kind of interesting as well. And you can allow for multi-select or not. So I think in our case, I kind of like the drop down. That's kind of cool. And then, yeah, that looks fine. Okay, let's go on to the next one. You can also add more filters if you want to. I think for this one, we're going to have by price be on the side like that. And then we can have this other section that's like by topic or by area, something like that. And then this will also be filtered by tags, but let's put a few more tags in first. So I'm going to say something like veterans and sort of like housing. And maybe for the interactive resume, I'll put sort of like resume. Oops. Just something like that. And then we're just trying to create some tags that would help us to be able to filter through things. And that could be sort of like engagement agreement. Oops. Let me just fix this a little bit. Engagement agreement. And for the for this sort of one up here, we can also say maybe like A2J. Something like that. So just kind of come up with a few tags that you can interact with. And then let's get out of here. Move this one around, come back to our thing here. And then we can say, we might need to refresh, but by tags, and then we'll come back to that after we kind of just do a couple of other things, which is we're going to move this one to the top. So it can be by topic up here at the top, or you can have it anywhere you like. It just depends what you like. So you can also have this be a different color, show this as a tag or as a drop down. So we'll go by topic here instead. And then you can allow for a multi-select. It depends on how you want this to look. Maybe I would change this a little bit and have instead this one on the top. It's quite hard to say. They both look cool. Maybe I'll have it to where this one goes on the top. Let me just think about it for a sec. So I think what I'm liking right now is for the position of this by topic to be sort of on this sort of left side because there's more space. And then the free sort of by price one, I think I'm going to have it be on the top because it appears here, which I think is kind of cool. So let's move on now. Do we want the search bar? Yes or no? You can do it like this. And then we can say search by. And then this gives us the opportunity to say by the about creators or the app creators, the description. You can make it to where I think it makes sense to be able to have someone search by about, by the creators, by the app description, not the picture, not really the profile link, but maybe the full name of the creator. The image of the app, no. The link to the app, no. Maybe the name of the app, yes. Posted date, you could kind of say that if you wanted to. Or like maybe they know which date it was posted, but they don't know the name of the app. The link to that, the price of the app, yeah, you could say that, or tags. So it's up to you. It's not going to hurt to have more options than less. So we can also then see what else we want to do here. Let's go ahead and choose our image. So if we come here to image, we can say content is going to be the app image. So image of app. So now you can see here the different app images, which you could change if you wanted it to be something else a little bit more interesting. Heading 3 is going to be here. So that's going to be the name of the app. So name of app here. So now you can see that that's changed to the name of the app. Text, that can be, if you want to say, this could be the name of the creator. So full name from app creators. So now you see who created it. Single line short. So we have like a little divider here. And then we can have some text here if we want to, or we can hide this if we don't want to have anything else underneath there. So we can hide that, or we can show it, and we can change if we want it to be maybe some of the tags, or, well, actually, since this is a text box, you can just keep it as is or choose some content here. I think the app description would be too long, and then the app of the, this could be like the price of the app maybe. Yeah, that looks fine. And then you could have the tag here be, so actually this is referring up here to the tags up here, I believe. So let's make that the tags like this. So you can see like free engagement agreement, free veterans, housing, A2J, free, and resume. So it depends on how you want this to look, but I think for now that looks pretty good. You can have the see more button. You can change what that looks like or what it says. If we go now over to actions, you can say that you, if you don't want this to show for all users, you can make it to where this add record button, it makes it to where you as the user, like who is creating this particular website and list, can add a record directly from Softr. But if you don't want other people to be able to do that and end users to see this, that you can change the visibility to, let's say, logged in users or non-logged in users, for example. In our case, you could also delete it. For me, I don't want it to appear, so I'm going to delete it. You also have the item button. So what happens when you click on this button? So you can have it be update a record, or you can have it be something else. In our case, we're going to want to have this open to the list details page that is associated with that particular record. So we actually need to create that first. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we need to go to pages, and then we're going to add a new page. And this will be app details, save. And well, you can actually just call it normal like this, app details, and then it will do this for you. And then we'll say save. And then we're going to go ahead and add a block, which is going to be a dynamic block where you have a list details. You could say with image is fine, because in our case, we do have some images, which is nice. So we can choose our source, which is this Airtable account, our Airtable base, which is going to be the app marketplace base. And then the table within that is going to be apps. And then we can have it to where we can fill in the content here as well, which is going to be, you can have the title and subtitle here at the top. So you can see about this app, for example. And then just could say it's like some details about this, the app you've chosen, or just whatever you want it to say. It doesn't have to be fancy. And then let's go ahead and fill out these different sections now. So if we go to list item fields heading 3, we can choose, this is going to be the app name. So name of app, eligibility for a specially adapted housing grant. You can have a little short line of short text here if you'd like to, but you don't have to. But it could be, you could even just choose like the date if you wanted to, like the posted date. And then you can choose for the image gallery, you wanted to choose the image of the app, for example, here. It doesn't have to be the image of the app. You can make like a nice image that you can add here to give the sort of feeling of this particular app. It's up to you. You can have the tags here at the bottom. So we can choose our tags. And then for the rich text here that appears at the bottom, that's going to be our app description. And then let's see what else. We have this action button here. And then right now it says update. So we can update a record. But in our case, we don't want to do that. So we're going to delete it. And we can add an item button that would be open a URL. And then we can select the URL field. So if we go to our links here, link to app, and then you can say open in the same tab or open in a new tab, or you can open in a modal, which might be interesting as well. Let's try the modal and see if we like that and play with that a little bit. It can be small, medium, or large, or full screen as the modal. And the modal type can be a sliding modal or a centered one. I kind of think it might be interesting to try a large or full screen one, but we can just kind of play with it and see if we like it. We can give it a label, which we can say, try now or something like that. And yeah, so now we have this way of when someone clicks on, we need to just link this details page now to our other page. So if we go back to our app marketplace page here, we need to tell Softr where to take someone when they click on this. And we can change this button out as well. We don't have to have it be this particular one. Let's go ahead and delete it and say like learn more. Open page. And then it will be app details. And then we can say learn more. Yeah, that's fine. And then action item on click is open page. And then it would be select the page is app details. And then you can say open in the same or modal or a new tab. I think it would make sense to open it in a new tab. So now we kind of have something we can work with. So let's go ahead and preview this for now before we publish it. So we have this section that says App Marketplace. Browse the apps we have available and comment on the ones you love. So we haven't made the comments yet, but we'll make that in a separate video or section of this particular one. So now we have it to where people can filter by topic or by price. As you can see, this hasn't been like updated yet from the other topics that we have. So we'll just have to remember that. So we can go like this for free, or somebody can search within this like this. It's kind of cool. They can search, let's say, by Brittany, for example. But if there's somebody that's not there, then you can see that this is coming from the name here. And then we can also click here and see what happens here. So let's say learn more. So this takes us to this particular app. So if they click on this button or if they click on the card itself, it's going to take them to this about. But if they say learn more, it will take them within the same page. If they click on the card itself, it will take them in a new page. Cool. Let's test out these other ones as well. So we have this one here. You can see that it goes to that separate one. And then we have this one here. Now, if we did all this stuff with a creator, so we can add the creator information here as well. So if we go back here and click out of this and we go back to our details page, so our app details, we can add some more stuff under the content. So let's add a field, which could be, let's say a text. I think it might be nice to just kind of look at these really quick to see what's available. So we have text, rich text, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, email, URL, tag, file, video, audio, image gallery, an embed, or Google Maps, rating, divider, checkbox, PDF. It'd be nice to have a little bit of a divider, maybe. No, let's go ahead and take it off. Let's go into like the contributor stuff. Let me just see where this ends up. I kind of want this button to kind of come before it. That's fine. I think maybe it would make sense to have the creator before the button. Either way. So let's say we could have this be text, or we can have this be anything else. So for now, I think I'm going to say text and have this be the creator's full name. So we can change this label to created by or creator. I think created by looks fine. So you can see this is happening here, created by Brittany Hernandez, and then we can add a field, which could be an image. And then that can be, the content can be the image of the creator. So creator picture. And then we don't have to have a label here, but you could say, Let me just see if I take this off. That looks fine. So we can just take that off, and then we don't need to have a label for it. And then underneath we can have some rich text, which could be like about, or you can just take it off. It's up to you how you want this to look. I'm going to say about creator here. And let's see. I think it might be nice to just say like about or something like that. I don't know, whatever you want to say. Or bio. I think bio makes more sense. Something like that, whatever you want it to be. Okay, so next let's put a little section for this person's profile URL. And then we'll put the content is creator profile link. So they'll be able to see what the link is, and then it will link off to there. And then we can have the label be creator profile, or you can just say profile, creator's profile. Kind of like that. Okay, so now we've kind of built out this page. Let's go ahead and preview this. So we have this section that has about this app, some details about the app you've chosen. You can take this off if you don't like it, and just kind of keep it with the like a more clean version. I think I actually will in this case because it looks a little bit too much going on. So let's preview this again. So now when somebody clicks on that particular app that they've chosen from your marketplace, they'll be taken to this page. I think that looks cleaner. It's not as cluttered. You can see the image. You can see what this app, if you wanted this to have like a little bit of space, you can actually do this in your Airtable section as well, which is going to be, let's see, this one's the limited pro bono engagement agreement. So if we come over here, let's just see what this looks like if I add like a little space at the top and come back to here. Not this one. This one. So if we give it a little bit of space, so it's just playing with it a little bit. And what's cool about Airtable and this particular field of a like sort of long text is you can actually write some code in here as well. So for example, if I wanted to add a BR, for example, I can, and it will read it as such. So if you do just a space, it's kind of taking it out, but I want there to be a space there. So if we just put a BR in the top of this here, like I've done here, then you can actually see that it's created a space here, which I think looks a little bit better. So now we have this page that opens up, and if they say try now, it will open the app directly in this modal that they can interact with, which is super cool. They can even access their dashboards and sign into their accounts because the header of this particular one is intact. And so they can interact with this as they would if they were interacting with this sort of anywhere else. So that is pretty cool. I kind of like how that looks. So that is how you can create this sort of list details and list page in your app marketplace. So let's go ahead and publish this for now because we have everything set up, and let's just kind of view this from the top. But the problem right now is that we haven't linked all of that to anywhere. So we need to link it here to our home page. So if we go back to our studio and go to our home page, what we want to do is go to this section, and then we're going to choose for this second one that says apps, says go to, and then what we need to do is add an action that it opens the page, and the page is our app marketplace. We can make it open in a new tab or open just kind of in this regular one. I think we're going to keep it in the same one. So now if we refresh this, you can see that now this is a more interactive action. So we can say go to, and now they're taken to the app marketplace. So in here, they can filter by our filters, and they can choose one if they would like to and interact with that here. You would need to add that kind of BR in front of each of your descriptions. So like we've done here. So we can just kind of copy and paste this to make that consistent across the board. And you know why, because that's how it appears like on the other side. So let's go ahead and add these in here a little bit so that when we refresh this, now we have like a little bit of space, but we can see the creator and we can see all of the other information, and we can try it now and interact with that app directly within because of this modal. Even expand and contract and continue on and whatever else you want to do with this particular app. Now that we've had a little bit of time to have this kind of app catch up to some of the changes that we made in Airtable, what I'd like to do is add in the different topics here on the side label. So if we kind of click, if we go back to our pages and go to App Marketplace and we click on our section here, we can go to that section that's by topic and make sure that that the options include only the things we want it to. So we can take off free because that's by price, and have the topics be veterans, housing, resume, engagement agreement, and A to J. And then we can say one tag per line if you want it to look like this. So it's not sort of mixed like this, or whatever you'd like. If you wanted to, you could just make this a drop down, or you can have the tags be on the side. I kind of like the tags, and I don't mind it being mixed. So now if we publish this, we can see that they are a little bit better, and that the price filtering here is only by the free. But if we wanted to, and we wanted to add other types of tiers, we could say like, you know, from $1 to $50, and then have another section that's like $50 to $100 and so on. But we can have at least this free one here for now. So if we go ahead and take a look at this now, what we have is a section where we can kind of click over to here, and we have our app marketplace, which we could make it this prettier if we wanted to add something on the bottom. It's up to you. We can search here. Now we can also filter by veterans, by resume, by engagement agreement. So now you can see that this is all kind of linking together nicely now. Great. If you wanted to have this section on the bottom that has to do with comments, comments are actually slightly more complicated because you need to be, so let's go ahead and sign out, for example. So if we, well, the first thing is you can't see it there now because that is only for members or people who have been to a retreat before. So yeah, so basically comments are kind of tricky, and we can go into them in a different video. I think for now we're going to stop here, but in this section, you'll learn that you have to have logged in users add comments. So otherwise, I think people can see the comments, but they just can't make them. So that's just to say there's a whole other process, because in order to have someone have an account in order to comment on your app, for example, then you would need to make it to where there's like a sign up process, like sign up, sign in process. And then you'd also need to be able to have them sort of, you'd need to create another kind of section for users. And then you'd have to have that be able to receive their name, their email, and then it would create like a magic link and different things as well. And then you'd also maybe want to have an avatar. That means you'd also need to have the flow of having the person be able to like reset their password and recover their password and so on and so on. So it's kind of actually more involved than I think is within the scope of this particular one. So I'm actually going to just kind of make the decision to not go over comments right now, and we can kind of go over that in future videos. But for now, what we have is we have a way to interact with different applications that we've created and have our end users try out our apps or purchase them, depending on if they're paid or free, and interact with them directly without even leaving our website, which is pretty nice. In my case, I'm just going to quickly add a home button because it's kind of weird that I can't navigate back to the home from here. So I'm just going to go to my home page link here and add a link that says home. And then add the action of opening the home page. And then let's publish this. So now we have a link up here at the top. So if somebody's on a different page, they can come back to the home screen. Awesome. So that is how you can create and link a marketplace to your app section here, and people can kind of search by price or by topic. They can search here in the search bar. They can click into any of these and be taken to a page where they see the post date, the title, a picture, their tags. You can have the little description with the BR above here, created by the creator, the bio of the creator, and the creator's profile link. And then the person can click straight into the actual workflow itself. They can interact with their own accounts up here at the top if you have the Gavel toolbar here at the top, which could be white labeled with your own logo. And then you have this kind of way to sort of interact with this straight from the website, which is pretty nice. As I said, you could also make this to where this takes you to a paywall instead. So that could be either directly from within your Gavel accounts because it integrates with Stripe, or it can be whatever other payment processor you use. So that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.